Hello. Welcome to the Hard Reset. What just happened?
Presidents every 4 years or every 8 years, depending on whether they get reelected or not.
Right.
So you're talking at a minimum, even if you had two presidents that went, two terms at 16 years or whatever, you're probably talking at least three presidencies.
Yeah.
That person is going to be sitting there, which a lot of times, historically speaking, if I remember correctly, it's longer than that. Like the average time that they're Supreme Court justices is usually probably closer to like 40 years, which that's where people have problems. They're using this phrase, they want term limits on Supreme Court justices. Every other elected official has a term limit. So like a president, you can only be reelected one time. So you can only serve maximum time any president can serve is 8 years.
Right.
They can only get reelected one time. Obama, for example, he got reelected and he served, like 8 years or whatever as a president. And, even though people may have wanted him for a third term, he could not run. He was barred from running or whatever. Supreme Court justices, on the other hand, I can see where they're coming from is they're wanting term limits on how long you can be a Supreme Court justice because, as I said, say you're your average Supreme Court justice, he's on the bench making these basically life-changing decisions on constitutional issues, and he's been on there for 40 years. So you're talking like a dude or a chick that basically became a Supreme Court justice in like the 1990s, 1980s. A lot has changed.
True.
There are Supreme Court justices that, can't work a cell phone, without, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't understand, the problem is what, and the reason why I mentioned the cell phone thing is there are certain things that's talking about freedom of speech on the internet or, and like I said, podcasts.
Right.
What you can and can't say and what can be censored and what can be whatever. What can be censored on Facebook. Those are real issues because it's a new platform. And one of the guys that's making the decision on that, or, a lot of these people involved that's making decision on this don't even understand the concept of, I'm taking away from information or I'm taking away knowledge and making it sound like that they're dumb and they don't know anything about the internet.
I wouldn't say they're
I'm sure
dumb,
they do, but
I kind of see the point you're trying to make here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I do have an argument for that.
Yeah.
Is all right. So let's just say he's out of touch with technology.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't matter. It is there freedom of speech or is there not freedom of speech?
I agree.
To me, it's a yes or no question.
Unfortunately, though, that they've set certain precedences in other court cases because they've made that mistake to where there's now gray areas. Meaning like, Facebook, for example, can censor you.
Well,
right. Because it's a private organization.
Yes, it is
right?
a private organization. So,
and you choose to use their platform.
Yes. And you sign the user agreement. So,
right?
Yes, that is true.
So people have tried to sue them for, First Amendment violations or whatever.
Right.
And, some court somewhere, I'm not even sure if it's the Supreme Court, basically came back and said, that's not a violation of your First Amendment rights because you signed a user agreement.
Right.
So there are limits depending on the platform, and it is directly involves technology. So like, if the flavor of the month is whatever the new Facebook is, or whatever the new Instagram, or like whatever it is, if you put stuff on there, if said owner of that decides that is, he don't like you using the color, using the word blue. Describing the blue, blue because it's some new slang term that has just popped up and it means something, now the color, saying the color blue is something derogatory. And again, I'm using this just as an example. He decides to ban that from his platform. He'll, send out the bots and anybody that posts anything on whatever Instagram, Facebook, and they use the word blue, they don't care what context it is. Describing the sky or whatever, suddenly you're banned. That is not unconstitutional. You signed said user agreement.
Correct. You did sign that agreement. And at the same time, you also have an option of, all right, you don't have to use that platform. You can start your own platform. And also you can find other, there's other things out there that you can use. Back in the day when was it Ross Perot that invented the internet? Who was that?
I don't think Ross Perot invented.
Wow.
Maybe he thinks he invented the internet.
That
but
could have been.
yeah,
Maybe it was Bush. I can't remember now. But
yeah, actually, it was.
why is what's going on over there? Are you being attacked?
Yeah,
by,
I got a stink bug that's now gone.
Anyways,
Oh, you came back and get me? Oh yeah. Are you serious, man?
yeah, he just straight up smacked you in the
Yeah,
head.
he went
He was-
gangster on me, man. He came right back at me.
He's gonna
If you had some kind of leg,
he went all Gran Torino on your ass.
Yeah. Hey, this try to Spartan kick me off of a cliff or something. But
Oh.
no, from what I understand, the internet, by the way, was kind of the first iteration of the internet was actually invented by the military.
True, yeah. But anyway, so
anyways,
yeah, I mean, there's other
Fun
things.
fact.
There used to be like
Yeah.
bulletin boards. There's all sorts of stuff that you can use to get your message out there, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to be on TwitTwak or YouTube, whatever it may
Yeah.
be, but that's not. There's other things out there. And actually, I think Trump is working on his own little thing with digital world acquisitions. So,
well, if you remember right,
I'm
when
interested to see what
Facebook
that's
started
gonna look
doing
like.
that, they came up with like the Parler or whatever it was, which
Yeah,
was
Parler,
basically
that's still around, isn't it?
it is. But if you remember right, Google shut them down because they were using Google servers.
Oh, right. So you have to get your own servers, which that's not
So
hard
you
to
had
do.
to, yeah, which you basically, they shut down Parler.
Yeah.
It was going to be that people started jumping because they were tired of like essentially only seeing one side, because it was very, at one point, during the presidential, elections or whatever, it was very decisive which side, Mark Zuckerberg or whatever was on.
Yeah.
And it was very like,
This is all we're going to show you.
yeah, this is all you're going to
see.
show. Like it wouldn't even show
Yeah.
up, your algorithm didn't matter. It
Well,
was
that's
like,
kind of the problem I have with mainstream television right now is,
and that's why it's dying.
we live.
Yeah.
Obviously, Joe and I live in the same household, and I get one
Mhm.
story, she gets one story,
Yeah.
and it's because we look at different things. It's like, why is mainstream media just simply report the story, leave your politics out of it? It's kind of like NPR. NPR, I used to like NPR,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, they're funded by the government, our taxpayers.
Yeah.
So the
Whatever-
stories they put out,
Whatever the current presidency
Yeah.
or current administration
yeah, it was just
decides
crazy.
on what
Well,
money they
that's
get. Yeah.
kind of like with Biden saying, "I'm just going to place a black female in the Supreme Court," and that was his whole statement. Well, now they've rewritten the script for him, and now he's
Mhm.
saying, "And she's going to be qualified and intelligent," and you know what? I'm sure there's plenty of people out there like that, but
Yeah.
now I'm going, yeah, let's get back, not off that, get away from that subject.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. You can kind of talk at it from both ways. I mean, I understand that you would, if you were a black female, you would definitely feel empowered a bit by that, because you want that representation in something that, like the court that's the highest in the land, the Supreme Court.
No, right. And I think if you
And-
worked for it and you can show you're
Yeah,
qualified for
absolutely.
it, go for it. Get it.
I just don't like him. I don't like the verbiage of him picking somebody specifically
Right.
based on it. I feel like that is almost a bit, if that makes any sense, that's almost like a bit of pandering.
Yeah.
Like you're using, instead of saying, hey, which again, his handlers, if you will, realize his error of him saying that.
yeah.
And they went back and they described,
Yeah,
they
they
described
backtracked
how,
it.
they described how qualified she was or whatever, and, again, if she's qualified for it,
No,
but
I'm
in the
good
big,
with that.
in the big scheme of things though, you're limiting yourself when you say, I want, this specific, this man or woman or this color or like whatever.
Right.
And you're excluding everybody that's not a man or a woman that
Uh-huh.
certain color. And so now you limit, again, you're talking about the Supreme Court that's probably going to be on the bench for 20, 30 years. And you've just limited your pool of qualified candidates
Uh-huh.
to go there and to represent basically, the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so now you went from, 1,000 different judges that's been, all over the United States or however many that, they started out with, the whittle down, and had nothing to do with their, race or or their gender or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And now they whittled it down to 50, like 1,000 to like 50, probably instantaneously.
I think I've only seen maybe 7, judging by what he's saying or has said in the past. He's only got 7 options.
Yeah.
Which, again, there's more than 7 qualified people out there. Yeah. But yeah,
I'm just thinking I probably wouldn't have as much of a problem with it if it wasn't for the fact that it is super important. And that, though, again, they do not have term limits. So whoever you get is going to be there. So it's not like if they put her in there and she's not any good,
right,
then 4 years from now, you can just vote to put another person in there and we'll be like, oh, that was a terrible idea. We should have went for, a more qualified candidate.
What if you get her in there and all she does is just cackle because she doesn't know what she's doing, or doesn't even bother to read anything, or doesn't look at any of this.
And I'm talking about every race, gender, whatever. So, for whatever reason, if a Republican came in and wanted to point, I want nothing but, white dudes, old white dudes to be on the Supreme Court, that in itself is just as bad as that, because now you're limiting you're limiting your pool. It shouldn't matter what your race or your gender or whatever is. Go for the most qualified candidate. Like, you want somebody that's shit hot, right? About whatever it is. Again, you are, it's like picking a cabinet member for the presidency, right? You want the best the country has to offer.
Oh dear, I don't think
said
that happened
subject
either. That definitely didn't happen on.
Well, again, and that's where politics come in, and whose shoulders you rub with, and whatever, instead of basically doing the basics and just getting the best qualified candidate.
Right.